Hi everyone, in this video we will be doing problems from today's page 575 assignment, which is numbers 1 through 26 all. Make sure to be writing down these examples that I go over on this video because they will actually be part of the assignment. In this problem, the directions say to order each group of quadratic functions from widest to narrowest graph. Okay, so we have three equations and we have to find the widest of these three graphs. Okay, so first of all, don't be thrown off by that negative, because that negative just means that the graph opens upside down versus right side up. But what we're really looking for is this a value 2, 0.5, or 1, and we're just looking at the 1, not the negative. So listing those from widest to narrowest, and the concept is that the larger the a value, the more narrow that the graph becomes. So ordering these from most wide, that would be the smallest value, which is y equals 0.5x squared. Then the next one would be y is negative 1x squared, and the most narrow graph would be y equals 2x squared. I'm just ordering from 0.5 to 1 to 2. In this problem, we have to graph the parabola, label the axis of symmetry, and the vertex. Okay, so graphing the parabola like normal. First step is to find your a, b, and c values. So those are the coefficients of the equation, which is 1, 2, and 4. Next, we have to calculate x is equal to negative b all divided by 2a. So for this problem, negative b, switching b is negative 2, and 2 times 1 is 2. So negative 2 divided by 2 equals negative 1. Okay, so now we're going to plug negative 1 into my equation. So I have parentheses squared plus 2 parentheses plus 4. So when negative 1 goes into the parentheses and I do the calculation, I'll get 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 plus 4 is 3. So that means that my whole vertex, based on these steps, is negative 1 and 3. So based on this, we have our vertex. Our vertex is at negative 1 and 3. So plotting a point there. From there, our a value is 1, and that's 1 over 1. So we're going up 1, right 1, up 1, left 1. And from there, we're going to connect that with curves to have graphed our parabola. I check to make sure that it's right because the y-intercept is at 4, and that corresponds with my c value at 4. So the parabola is graphed correctly. Then it says label the axis of symmetry and the vertex. Okay, so the axis of symmetry is something we have not learned about yet. So learning that is this line of symmetry in our parabola. So it goes right through the vertex, and it's always straight up and down, straight vertical. So that line is always the x-coordinate of the vertex. So this is a vertical line, so it's of the form x equals negative 1. So graphing the line x equals negative 1, and it would be that dotted line that shows symmetry to our parabola. And our vertex we already calculated, and that's at negative 1, 3. In this problem, the directions say solve each equation by graphing the related function. If the equation has no real number solution, write no solution. Okay, so we will graph the related function. So the related function is y equals x squared minus 16. So we're going to graph this parabola and then find where that hits the ground 0. And wherever it hits the x-axis represents the answers to our equation. Okay, so graphing y equals 1x squared minus 16. Well, since there's no middle bx term, this problem is easier, so we could just simply graph the y-intercept at negative 16. The vertex has to go through 0 and negative 16. So our vertex is at 0, negative 16, and then we will be going from there. Our a value is 1, so we're going up 1 over 1 to both sides. And then we're going to go up 3 over 1, up 5 over 1, and up 7 over 1. And the same thing happens with the negative. So up 1, left 1, up 3, left 1, up 5, left 1, and up 7, left 1. So when we graph our parabola, we see that the x-intercepts are at 4 and negative 4. So the answers to this equation are x equals 4 and x equals negative 4. Learning something new in this problem, this says solve each equation by finding square roots. If the equation has no real number solution, right? No solution. Okay, so for this problem, it is x squared equals 49, and we're solving this by finding square roots. So what we're going to do is actually take the square root of both sides of the equation. And when we do that, x squared square rooted undoes the square, and we just have x. The square root of 49 is 7. And whenever we take the square root of both sides of an equation, we automatically get this plus or minus, which means, so the answer is actually plus or minus 7. The meaning of that is, in our original problem, x squared equals 49, that 7 times 7 is 49, but also negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. So x equals 7 and x equals negative 7 can be abbreviated as x equals plus or minus 7 to have a less handwriting. In this problem, we're solving for x. So we want to first get the x squared alone. So getting the x squared alone, we want to first add 108 to both sides of the equation. When we do that, that cancels, so we'll get 3x squared equals 108. The x squared is still not alone because it has this 3 right here. So to undo the 3, we're going to divide by 3, divide by 3. Now we'll get x squared equals 108 divided by 3 equals 36. And finally, we're going to undo the square, so square root both sides. And you get x equals plus or minus 6. We always get that plus or minus whenever we square root both sides of an equation. So there's our answer. In this problem, we're going to get the x squared alone, so if we subtract 24, draw your line, bring down the equals, we'll get x squared equals negative 24. Now when we go to square root both sides, we'll have x equals the square root of negative 24. Now when we go to the calculator and try to do square root of negative 24, it'll say that you cannot actually do that because we can actually never take the square root of a negative. Therefore, this problem has no solution. Again, the reason it has no solution is because of that negative which is under the square root. So it's impossible to have a number times itself, which equals negative 24. In this problem, you have 324 square feet of fabric to make a circular play parachute for kids. What's the radius of the largest parachute you could make round to the nearest tenth of a foot. Okay, so drawing a picture of this, we're looking to make a circle where the area is 324 square feet. So we know a formula that the area of a circle is pi r squared. So looking for the radius, we could say plugging pi r squared in for area, right there, we'll have pi r squared equals 324. So we have to solve this equation. So pi is really 3.14. So 3.14 r squared equals 324. So getting the r squared alone, we will divide both sides by 3.14, divide by 3.14, and get r squared equals 103.2. So now solving this equation, we're going to square root both sides. And now r equals the square root of 103.2, which equals 10.2. When we square root both sides, we automatically get this plus or minus, but since it's the radius of a circle, it cannot be negative. So the largest radius of the circle is 10.2 feet. So our answer is 10.2 feet is the largest radius of the circle. In this problem, we're solving this equation. We're not allowed to just simply take the square root of both sides because we have this middle plus n term. So we need another way. Since we have three unlike terms, we have to solve this problem by factoring. So doing this by factoring, we will factor the problem. So first we'll have n times n. For last, we'll have plus 4 minus 3, because that gives an outer term negative 3n, inner term 4n, so together it makes 1n, and it works. Okay, so now that the problem's factored, we can set each parentheses equal to 0, so n plus 4 equals 0, and n minus 3 equals 0. So solving those, subtract 4, n equals negative 4. And add 3, so n equals 3, and we have our answers to our equation. In this problem, we have t squared minus 3t equals 28. So the problem has to be set equal to 0. So we'll start off by subtracting 28 to both sides of the equation. Then we'll have t squared minus 3t minus 28 equals 0. So this is the problem that we want to factor. So we will factor this as t times t is t squared. Now we're trying to multiply two numbers to get negative 28. So to get the negative, we'll have a positive and negative. And we'll do minus 7 plus 4. It multiplies to get negative 28. Now we'll get negative 7t plus 4t is negative 3t, so all of FOIL works. Setting the parentheses equal to 0, t plus 4 equals 0, and t minus 7 equals 0. So subtract 4 to both sides, t equals negative 4, and add 7 to both sides, t equals 7. So we have our answers.